Welcome to Genuine Healing on News for the Soul, where real transformation unfolds in real time. Join world-renowned energy healer Jen Ward and Marvin Schneider live every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time and available worldwide across all major podcast platforms. Each episode explores the deeper patterns shaping your life and works directly to clear them so that you can live a life of passion and purpose in higher consciousness. If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode, visit genuinehealing.com/on-air and register your interest to join Jen and Marvin on air on one of their upcoming healing topic episodes. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear is not just someone else's story. It's a reflection of what may be ready to shift within you.
You're listening to Genuine Healing on News for the Soul with your hosts, me, Marvin Schneider.
And me, Jen Ward. Hi, everybody.
Thanks very much for joining us. If you're joining us live, thanks for being here. Or perhaps you're listening to us on the archive. That's great as well. There are many places where you can listen to us. We've got a weekly show every Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Come and join us live on the News for the Soul network. Otherwise, on YouTube, on our website, and pretty much every other podcasting platform. Jen, we kicked off our pilot episode last week in a conversation with Nicole, who a lot of our listeners will know because they follow News for the Soul for, about 17 or 19 years. I can't remember which one. And we talked a little bit about you, a little bit about me, a little bit about how we connected, and a little bit about our work. But today what we're going to be doing is doing a much deeper dive into the work that we do, and particularly the SFT tapping modality. So that's going to be the core of our conversation today.
Yep, and SFT stands for Spiritual Freedom Technique.
Spiritual Freedom Technique. Some listeners will be familiar with EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And EFT is also a tapping technique, but there are some differences. We're going to be talking about those. But I actually wanted to just reflect a little bit, start off by reflecting a little bit on our conversation last week with Nicole. For those that tuned in, thank you very much for doing that. And one of the interesting things, Jen, is that you spoke a lot about a lot of past life trauma and some of the challenges that a lot of people face in their life. And when you're talking about some of the most horrific traumas that anyone can experience, I kind of wonder whether the listener got a sense that, life is just a big chaos of trauma. And so what I wanted to do is to start this conversation on the positive side of things. And that is that in Genuine Healing, our primary objective is to help people connect in their passion and purpose so that they can experience joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success. That's what everyone wants. Unfortunately, there are things that get in people's way of experiencing the good stuff. So let's just talk about the good stuff first.
Sure. Well, since I see all the bad stuff, I realize that the good stuff for me is just having a day that's relaxing without mind and without trauma and pain in the body, where you can just enjoy whatever you're doing without being pulled in different directions.
So one of the core premises that we work on is that every one of us, life, is our eternal souls, and they've had many life experiences. So let's just talk about what the purpose of life is. Let's just start on a simple topic. What's the purpose of life? Because I think that little conversation will segue into the fact that people then have life experiences that do go off the rails, do end up with past life trauma and engrams, and so we can talk about the consequences of that. But from your read of things, what is the bigger picture purpose of life?
But how esoteric can I get? Because you know me, I can go in tangential.
Well, look, let's just work on the premise that the listeners are somewhat interested in the bigger picture without getting too esoteric. Because can I just make this observation? I've been sort of reading and delving in the spiritual realms for a number of decades now, and there is any manner of esoteric nuances. And the thing that I find is that a lot of it is really just written in riddles and really not that helpful. So let's keep it down to the fairly sort of simple conversation that people can actually connect with.
Okay, but the reason things are written in riddles is because the person who's explaining doesn't really understand. They're not going far enough and they're trying to figure it out for themselves. But the purpose of life is to be in perpetual joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success, wholeness. And there's more of those, but that's it. Basically, that's it. But then there's all these caveats, like how can you be in joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, and wholeness if you're screwing over a friend or if you're seeing someone else in pain? So the purpose, the bigger purpose, is to have that intention for all other beings as well.
Right. And in the bigger picture work that we're doing, we work diligently with our clients to help them become empowered. And basically, what that means, in my simple language, is that they are living their life of passion and purpose. And we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about that later as well. And and in the pursuit of that passion and purpose, they outflow, contribute to the broader collective, and experience the joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success. That's what we want for every of our clients and every individual. And then when you extend that to the broader collective of 8 billion people on this uh, rock we call Earth,
Mm.
then that's what we call universal empowerment. And we've done a lot of work at the universal empowerment level. But in this conversation, we're going to be talking more at the individual empowerment level. So let's talk about empowerment.
For me, empowerment is releasing all the times when you weren't empowered, when you were like killed or tortured or beaten or locked up and told you were nothing, and gotten to the point where you think that even God or whatever your concept of God is has rejected you and spit you out of the club.
So here's the thing: is as a eternal soul, you've had many lives, and what I was trying to get you to the point of, which we've written extensively in a lot of our writings, is that the purpose of an incarnated life is to have the full spectrum of experiences in the lower worlds. So you incarnate for the purposes of having experience that then adds to universal consciousness. And so those experiences run the full gamut of positive experiences and not so positive experiences. And in having many incarnated lives, you will accumulate karma, and you need to work out that karma. And so a lot of people that are having this incarnated life are influenced in the energetic realms through those experiences. So let's talk about that, because um, uh, a lot of people's physical experiences in this life is influenced heavily by the engrams that they carry forward from past lives. So why don't you pick up the conversation there?
Okay, but I have a problem with the word karma. Not because it's not accurate, but it's limiting as well. So everybody seems to know what karma is. But karma is just energy. And what people understand karma for is like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's like, uh, it's transactional, but it's just energy. So what's really silly about it is once you can change your definition of karma to being something of a punishment and more of something that you can take hold of and do something about, which is what we do in our private sessions. When we do use the SFT tapping and I tune into people, we're basically removing big chunks of what they would consider karma. So that's important to know.
It is important to know. So a lot of people, particularly in the spiritual community, they're aware of the concept of karma. And I think you're right. It's not that the concept of karma itself is not valid, but a lot of people's understanding of karma is a little bit on the punishment side of things. And there's this concept of the lords of karma that are there to basically mete out karma and basically force you to reincarnate for the purposes of working out karma. So that has a bit of a negative connotation, but your framing of it, I think, is really important, and that is be aware of karma, be aware of what carries forward through, your energy body, but don't be a victim of it. Use that understanding to release those bonds, those aspects that are influencing your life. And that's the positive. That's the proactive understanding of karma.
Absolutely. You can be free of your karma with the intention to do so. Now, I think something that we'll be doing along the lines in this program here is upgrading people's understanding of words and definitions that they have just locked in as negative and don't know what to do with. So a lot of people out there feel like they're cursed. And they feel like this curse is some like black magic thing or whatever. A curse is merely when someone else is trying to derail your intention with theirs. So it's not as nefarious, but it can have nefarious results. And the reason I bring that up is a lot of people will say, well, your karma's going to get you. And in a sense, that's a curse. You don't want to be cursing other people. That's not indicative of your own freedom.
Hmm. So what you're really saying here is that it's all just energy, and energy is neutral. When you put a judgment or a label on it, good, bad, that's when it kind of goes from being neutral to being either a positive experience for you or a negative experience for you. And again, that understanding itself is really important, because if you can look at your experiences in life from a, higher vantage point, and just see the experience itself as being neutral, but learn from it and do something about it. That's just what empowers you. Well, it moves you away from being a victim to being empowered and self-empowered. And that's what you help people do in your
Yep.
energy healing work.
Absolutely. And energy, I can see the intentions that others have put on an individual. And because being a shaman, I see and perceive an energy, I can move energy. So with my intentions, I can like break all those things up. But there's another definition that um, the higher ups, I don't know what we call them, the adepts, the wisdom I tune into, um, whatever you want to call it, want the viewers to know the difference between power and empowerment. Now, we've been trained in this society to crave power, but what power is taking someone else's empowerment for your own. And we see a lot of power mongers these days. Now, the goal isn't to become a power monger and take power from others. What you want to do is actually give power to everyone else, give their power back to them, and so you can embrace your own empowerment. Now, your own empowerment is a perpetual well of love and confidence that's drawn from within. So you got to shift your desire from power to empowerment. I think that's really important.
It is important. I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to understand that there is a lot of chaos in the world and power mongering going on, across the globe, and it's pretty devastating. And the thing that we are advocating and work with people on is their own empowerment, which basically means that they have an understanding and an ability to pursue their passion and purpose, experience joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success, and wholeness, but do that in a way that then empowers everyone else around them. And when that shift in consciousness takes place, then you are living a life in higher consciousness. So do you want to just talk about that a little bit? What does it mean to live a life in higher consciousness?
Well, it goes along with what we're talking about. A shortcut to live in empowerment is to simply shift your vantage point. That's all you need to do. It sounds easy, and it can be easy, but it can be difficult. So when you're like dealing with power, you want to get right in their face and be at their level and volley energy back and forth to them. That's what power does, and that's how it thrives. That's why power mongers try to get a reaction out of people. That's why they're hurting people, because they're fueled off of the indignation and the suffering. So what you need to do as an individual is raise your vantage point above the power mongers to just love and peace. And it sounds foo-foo, when I say it, but just raising your vantage point to above being a victim, you're not a victim. You're having an experience, and everything that's happening to you is affording you compassion for 8 billion people out there. It's a wonderful thing. And all of us who are waking up to the fact that we don't want to be crushed by power mongers are forming kind of a camaraderie out there. And that's never talked about because people don't perceive an energy, but that camaraderie of everyone who just wants something better for themselves and their loved ones is a beautiful community.
Shameless promotion here. We have a program we call our Masterclass in Divine Empowerment. And in that program, or part of that program, we've written a workbook that accompanies the masterclass or the workshop, but the masterclass in divine empowerment. And so in that workbook and in the masterclass course itself, we talk a lot about these things. So if you want to know more about it, jump onto the Jenuine Healing website. And by the way, that's Jenuine Healing with a J, Jen, because Jen, you're Jen, and you're the Genuine Healing. And so the title, the label, or the brand that you've built around the work that you do, Genuine Healing, is actually really apt because the work that you're doing is really genuine. And what I say that is what I mean by that is that the work that you do with your clients is very actionable. So it's not just talking about concepts and aloof things. It's not just a reading, so to speak. There are many empaths out there that do readings, but you're taking the ball in the court and actively identifying what the core past life issues and engrams are that are afflicting who you're working with, and then working with them using SFT tapping protocols, and we're going to get to that, to actively change the game and give relief.
Right. So when I'm doing a session, I'm basically personified love in that moment. Not that I don't have my foibles, but in that moment, I'm concentrated on that person better than their dearest mother, their best friend, their confidant, their priest, whatever. In that moment, I can see all their foibles and all their insecurities and all the things that have kept them stuck. And I can help them understand consciously that these things aren't what they seem. And with the SFT tapping and with my abilities, we can release these core issues that've been keeping people cowering through life as a victim.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. So just describe a little bit about what a client might experience in a private session. So when they're coming onto the private session, you have a fairly unique ability in my estimation of things, to see, perceiving energy, see past lives, see the engrams, see the blockages, and connect the dots as to how those things, those energy patterns, if you like, carry forward through the experiences that the client is having in this life. So quite often, client will come to you for any number of reasons, pain, trauma, relationship experiences, lack of purpose, feeling lost, feeling cursed, pain, medical diagnosis. So quite often, the initial entry point is some discomfort with the client. And that's their motivation to do something about it. They're looking for relief of some kind. They come on camera with you through the session. You first tune into their energy spectrum, if you like, identify the past life engrams, and then through the SFT tapping, go through the process of shifting that energy to provide the relief.
Yes. And the thing is, with the concentrated work we've been doing, I've become much more sensitive than even that. So even the people listening here, in the future, the present, it doesn't matter. I can feel them tuning in, and I can feel their issues. Now, it takes a lot of discipline to not go into, individuals, because it would be too overwhelming for my human body. But when an individual signs up for that first contact, that first session with me, as soon as they do that, they get a sense of me inwardly. And if they're aware in energy, they will. Some people just feel a sense of peace or relief or excited, whatever it is. And so I start the session immediately in energy. And then when we meet on camera, it's basically meeting an old friend and explaining these things that are keeping them stuck. And you know what? It's not usually the thing that people think it is. Like I'll get on camera with them and I'll tune into them and I'll go back to something that happened in utero, or something that happened when they were a child, or even something that started way in past lives. And they say, "Oh, but that's not why I contacted you. That's not why it's the case." But if they stay with me, and they will, because they've paid for this, so they'll tolerate me. It comes full circle, and the cause and effect of how it's affected the issue that they did contact me about, it comes to light.
So here's the thing. A lot of people are, well, let's put it this way. Unfortunately, a lot of people are struggling and they do have
Yeah.
issues and blockages. And there's an enormous need out there for healing and relief. And that's a bit of the unfortunate aspect of the human experience. But here's the thing. A lot of traditional approaches to, let's call it therapy, psychology, um, one of the reasons why they're not always that effective is because they're not really able to get to the core issues. And the core issues may not, and often do not, emanate from this life. And so that's one of the unique things about what you're doing is you're able to get to the core issues, which might, have, the first cause of which might have been many, many, many lives ago, maybe a whole
Right.
yuga ago. And then you're able to address those in all moments. Can you just explain that concept of in all moments?
Well, here's the thing. Everybody wants to be an adept, like the spirit guide or whatever. All a spirit guide is, not all a spirit guide is it's someone who was incarnated as human or humanoid, and they have taken all these peripheral timelines that they were having experiences on and collected them back into the present moment. So they have no timelines in another era or no past lives. They've removed all, oh, I got chills. They've removed all their past life engrams and muscle memory. So they're totally present in the moment. Just like when I have a session with someone, I am totally present with them. And it's like reading the universe, reading past life, it's it's like a struggle sometimes because if they have a big ego, I'm fighting with their ego. I'm trying to placate them in the present and like keep them encouraged. I'm looking at all their past lives and I'm tuning into the universe, and all these things have to coincide to give them this incredible truth that they've been starving for and they knew was there, but they never could get their hands on. So it's really profound.
It is profound. Let's talk about SFT tapping as a modality, a healing modality, and how it is used to shift energy, shift stagnant energy, and remove, release past life engrams, which are, I'm going to say, invariably the root cause of probably the symptom that led you, the listener, to want to get a healing from Jen in the first place. So, you defined SFT tapping earlier as spiritual freedom technique. So, beyond the label, let's just describe the mechanics, nice and simple.
I don't know what you're asking for in that question, but I know that SFT tapping bypasses the ego, which has basically consumed most individuals. And the tapping goes into the brain. You tap into the brain, uh, uh, um, an invocation of truth for yourself.
All
We
right. So,
release
so can
this.
we, so can we just pause there for a second? So let's start with the invocation. So basically, SFT tapping is repeating an invocation, which is a statement or a command to the universe. So there is an invocation, but it is repeated 5 times, 3 times while continuously tapping on the top of your head at the crown chakra, a fourth
Yes,
time while tapping on the chest or the heart chakra, and a
yes.
fifth time while tapping on the abdomen or is it the root chakra? Is that around the
It
abdomen area?
it could be the Kundalini, the Dantian, where the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system are begin or are seated in the body. It doesn't matter. It's just around the navel.
Right. Okay. So there is an invocation, which is a command to the universe. And I want you to talk about that invocation and the power of the command to the universe in a second. But you repeat an invocation a total of 5 times while tapping 3 times on the head, continuously tapping on the head, a fourth time in the repeating of the invocation while tapping on the chest, and a fifth time while tapping on the abdomen. And it's not tapping, weird, energy points like in EFT. So that's kind of the mechanical things. Now, can we just talk about this invocation and particularly, give me an example of an invocation.
Should I give you a simple one or one that's relevant to the listeners now?
Uh, let, 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 let's freak the listener out. Why don't you, because the thing is that, Jen, you're tapping into the energy of the listener both in
Yeah.
real time, in the past, and in the future. And this whole idea of in all moments, which I want to get you to talk about a little bit. So yeah, let's tap into the listener and give us a tap that is relevant. How's that?
Okay, so this will freak you out because I'm always getting new information, no, new ways to like help the individual. So as I was tuning in, I tuned into it's popular now for people to try to loosen their vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs down the neck. I don't know, but it a lot of people are into like trying to relax their vagus nerve because it'll relax the whole body and it'll help the gut and the brain communicate and all that. It's one of those trendy kind of things, right? So
Mhm.
as I'm tuning into you, I'm tuning into the to what the individuals need, and there's a lot of people out there listening who need this. Is the reason the vagus nerve is so tight is because of a past life engram of dangling on the end of a rope where you were just hung and you're waiting for your neck to snap and to be killed. So that's the stress that's being held in the vagus nerve. Now, you're not going to get that from a Western doctor, but what we can do now is an SFT tap, not to like address the vagus nerve, but to remove the engram and muscle memory of dangling at the end of the rope. Now, an engram is the past life image I see that we remove from your Akashic records, but the muscle memory is the habitual reaction to that engram, life after life after life after life. So it's really powerful when you can remove engrams and muscle memory of something that's been really traumatic.
All right, and what you said there is also really important, is that a lot of the work, the spiritual work or the empowerment work that you can and dare I say should do in this life right now is to release these past life engrams and muscle memory, because if you don't, the muscle memory will keep repeating in the next life, the next life, the next life. So there is a real life motivation to doing the work. So let's do the release for the listener now and give us an example of an affirmation and a tapping sequence.
Okay, but I'm just getting more information from people listening. There are, I don't know how many, but there's at least one bodybuilder. People don't know what the vagus nerve is, but it's your scalenes, your neck. You know how tight your neck, side of your neck muscles get? Those are the scalenes, and that has to do with dangling at the end of a rope. So the tap will be, and they're kind of, this is advanced. This isn't, we release poverty, whatever. All engrams and muscle memory of dangling at the end of a rope are removed in all moments.
And so what I'll do is I'll repeat it, and as you're listening, for those that are listening on radio, repeat the affirmation a total of 5 times, 3 times while continuously tapping on the top of the head, a fourth time while continuously tapping on the chest, and a fifth time while continuously tapping on the abdomen. Just go ahead and do it. Can you repeat the affirmation?
Well, here's the thing, though. People are questioning, well, why the head? Why the heart? Why the gut? Let me just get that out of the way, because that's what they're questioning.
Okay. Yeah.
Your brain is a computer. It's a bigger computer than any AI can recreate and stuff. So when you are tapping on the top of your head, you are reprogramming this brain to put this intention first. It's got a long list, and the ego does not want you to shift. So the ego will dumb down anything that you try to say. If you just try to say an affirmation like, I'm 20 pounds lighter, the ego will come back and refute that and say, oh, you're fat. You can't stop eating. You've never been able to lose these 20 pounds. Look at you. And it does the opposite. This tapping on the brain prevents the ego from doing that. It's a clear affirmation in the head, but there's also information centers in the heart and in the gut. So what you're doing is aligning all those intentions so it can't hide one spot in the body. So the affirmation we're going to do, and you're going to do it with them, right?
Yeah.
We all engrams and muscle memory of dangling at the end of a rope are removed in all moments.
All engrams and muscle memory of dangling at the end of a rope are removed in all moments. All engrams and muscle memory of dangling on the end of a rope are removed in all moments. All engrams and muscle memory of dangling at the end of a rope are removed in all moments. So that was 3 times on the head. All engrams and muscle memory of dangling on the end of a rope are removed in all moments. That one was on the chest. All engrams and muscle memory of dangling on the end of a rope are removed in all moments. And that was on the abdomen.
So the beauty of saying in all moments. So way back, lifetimes and lifetimes ago, you had this trauma and you registered it somehow in your DNA. And so now you've been cautious of a thing. I took a client way back to a lifetime when she was a fish in another yuga or whatever, and she got caught on a hook and she had a throat issue. That's the first cause of a throat issue. But then in the present lifetime, she has sore throats, she has whatever, because she remembered that core issue of being caught on a hook and has registered it in her DNA, and with every lifetime has made it worse and worse and worse. So when we say we remove this in all moments, we're actually affecting the DNA that you carry and releasing the genome sequencing of having a trauma in the throat. It's pretty profound.
It is profound. The other thing that I should say about these affirmations is when you construct the affirmations and they all end in the phrase in all moments, right? So that was that whole in all moments bit. That's a core part of the SFT tapping modality. But when you construct these affirmations, they're not just words. They have a symmetry, a poetry, a cadence, a there is a uniqueness in it that I think, I don't know, almost only you can create in that way. So can you just talk about the construction of the taps and quite often the affirmations themselves are a little bit tangential, and that's by design. And so I want you to talk about how you construct the taps to bypass the ego so that the real energy effects can take place.
Yes. So when I when I construct taps, lots of times there's more than just one on an issue. And what we're doing is I use colloquialisms. I use out-of-date words that you might have been familiar with in a past lifetime. I I invoke visualization because what we're actually doing is we're igniting your imagination to help with these things. So when I do a tap, we release putting the cart before the horse. It seems like a colloquialism that the ego isn't going to like have a problem with. But when you put it in construct with all the other taps, right? And putting the cart before the horse is a lot of times people who have a diagnosis, instead of just like sitting with a diagnosis or whatever, they'll go in their heads and imagine, dying and leaving their children and all that stuff. And there's a lot of heaviness in that. So instead
Hmm.
of saying that directly, we'll say we really putting the cart before the horse. And I don't really use that one, but that was just an example.
So, but here's the thing, Jen, in your practice, working with thousands of clients all over the world over many decades, you must have literally constructed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of SFT taps. And the thing is that when you are have mastery at that level, you do get quite good at it. And I've seen other people construct taps that they just don't cut through the core
No.
issue like when you construct them.
And I'm not to toot my own horn, but it is not medical, energetic surgery. So those words are designed, sometimes they go so deep that it might hurt the individual if anyone ever said something like that to them. Because what I'm doing is putting a voice to all these unsaid things that they're like snowballing and feeding energy to. And we just cut right through them. Like if I've had like cancer patient and she had young children, and I know she was afraid and romanticizing leaving her children. And so I will go right to the core issue and say, we release abandoning our children on earth. And it's very painful if anyone else said it, but right there in that moment, we're cutting away all the dross and we're getting to the core issue. Now, I do want to say something else that's happening because we have this 12-week transformation program that's happening now, and something incredible is happening with that. When people commit to that level to working with us, the medical intuitive, the knowledge of that person becomes off the charts, and I'm being stretched every day. So here's what's happening in the 12-week transformation program. I'm going into different body parts. Lots of times the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala are operating, and they're not in balance. And I'm learning a lot about this because what happens is the amygdala will store one kind of past life experience, one kind of engram in it, and the prefrontal cortex will store another engram in it, and they're not conducive. So they're working against each other. And that's why all the brain surgery in the world is not going to get to the issue. I mean, traumatic brain injuries, that's just a lot of energy that's been impacted through whatever. And now you have to go into the engrams of the different brain parts to know why they're not working together.
I should round this out. You did mention the 12-week transformation program. That
Yeah.
is a very committed way that clients work with you. So jump onto the Jenuine Healing website, genuinehealing.com with a Jen, always Jen, genuinehealing.com. And under the purchase menu, there are all of the options available to get your own healing. Starting with a masterclass in divine empowerment, that's an entry level, and it's a great avenue for people to begin to experience the healing work with you, Jen. We have a masterclass community where we have a group of people that regularly get together on 5 p.m. Saturdays, 5 p.m. New York time. We get together every week and continue the healing process in a group setting. And then we got our 12-week transformation program, which is the high-end energy work. The important thing about that program for me is there are 12 sessions packaged together. And the thing is that over a sequence of 12 sessions, you get to really do the really deep work. And one of the things that I've noticed, Jen, is that when you're every week working with a client as part of that sequence of 12 weeks, each of the sessions connect, and you are able to then open up and see more of the past lives and go deeper and deeper and deeper. It really is transformational. That's why we call it the 12-week transformation program.
It really is amazing. And my frustration is that more high end, people who are suffering, like celebrities that I know of, don't find me because there's so many issues I see with people ending their careers or, being paralyzed. There, a lot of celebrities are paralyzed in these issues that they don't understand what it is. They're being bombarded by all this adoration and it's energy coming at them, and it's just too much. It's bombarding them. That needs to be released. But then what's really interesting is that the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, part of the central nervous system, these two parts, they're storing different engrams. So if there's a celebrity that comes and one part of maybe the sympathetic nervous system adores the fans and likes all that energy, and the sympathetic nervous system, or whichever I didn't say, is just resentful and just wants to be alone, and they're not working together anymore. That's what a paralysis could be. It's so frustrating to me.
So here's the other thing is that a lot of your clients do come to you with very real world, this world issues, pain, trauma, abuse, relationship, issues, substance abuse, all sorts of things. And those are very real issues that really do warrant, significant energy work. But often a lot of the real transformation that can take place is for those people that find themselves, in a midlife crisis point, being disrupted by major life-altering events,
Okay.
possibly a diagnosis, these kinds of things. So, on the outside, they might look well put together and successful, but inside their soul is really screaming out. And so those kinds of people get an enormous amount of benefit through the 12-week transformation program as well.
Well, the frustrating part is this: their body is their energy system, their body, their life, whatever it is starving to know why. Their conscious self is the only part of them that doesn't know what's going on. Lots of times when people don't know how to, like, a midnight midlife crisis. In past lifetimes, people died really young, relatively young. They don't know how to carry on with perpetual success. They just sabotage it because these engrams and muscle memory of dying interject on them. And that's how a lot of sports careers get ended, because people go into a slump. You know what a slump is? It's just the playing field is indicative of a battlefield on a past lifetime. And when they've died on the battlefield, they bring that engram and muscle memory forward and they kill their career, literally and figuratively. There's someone out there right now that needs our help, though. There's someone, a few people actually, that are self-cursing themselves. So in the past, they said they hated themselves, or they're derogatory to themselves. And a few of them, a handful, wanted to kill themselves before, in the past. And they don't realize that the past is the present, that it's all happening at once. So while they're trying to get past those feelings and get over depression, they're still stuck in that trauma of trying to kill themselves. So can we just do this tap for them, because they're really looking for answers? They've cursed themselves with their intentions. We immediately remove all self-curses in all moments.
We immediately remove all self-curses in all moments. We immediately remove all self-curses in all moments. We immediately remove all self-curses in all moments. We immediately remove all self-curses in all moments. We immediately remove all self-curses in all moments.
Someone just said thank you. So people who are watching this on video need to know, or when I make sounds when I'm doing a release, I'm converting pain into a different frequency of sound. So I'm dissipating it through the sounds. It's just a lateral move for the pain, but it dissipates it from the people. And then my energy is so big because I've been stretching my capacity to feel. I've taken what being an empath is to the nth degree, and I can feel. I can feel people on the other side of the world pounding for help inside a trunk where they were just kidnapped. And lots of times I'm just comfort them in crossing over, but sometimes I can help them get out of that instance. But that's how I spend a lot of my time. So when I make noises, when I get distracted, when I seem stupid, it's because I'm somewhere else with someone who's in need. It's not that I'm not present with you, but it's a lot to toggle.
We need to slowly wind up, and isn't it interesting, the experience that we had last time when we did our pilot episode with Nicole. Our hour went up so quickly and we only just scratched the surface. And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface on the topic of SFT tapping, because it's so profound, it's so powerful. It really is the real deal energy healing modality. It goes well beyond yoga and chanting and mantra repetition, a lot of the other spiritual practices. It's very tangible. So what I wanted to do in the minutes that we've got left is to direct the listener. Doesn't matter when you're listening, either live on the News for the Soul network, or on our YouTube channel, or in any podcasting platform. I want to let the listener, we'll give them access to some resources. Okay. So if you want to learn more about SFT tapping, jump onto the Jenuine Healing website, and there is a menu item called SFT Tapping. Click on that, and there's a description of the SFT tapping process, and you can download the SFT tapping protocols. So, Jen, can you just talk about the protocols and how people use those?
First of all, I have to tell you that as you're speaking, my love is reaching out, and And I'm saying, can you feel my love? If you can feel my love, you can get the relief because love is a conduit. So, yes, it's real. You are getting a relief from your issues. And so, the adepts that I work with, out of compassion for individuals who are suffering, have helped me create these protocols that help you take back all your energy that others have taken from you, remove all the karma, repair you to the optimal health and success that you deserve. And all you have to do is follow the protocols that we've created and do them. So many people have that resistance to doing that, but you have to do them.
So, just to give, because we do need to wind up fairly soon, just to give people a bit of a heads up. So, there's jump onto the Genuine Healing website, get onto the SFT Tapping menu page, click the link to download the SFT Tapping protocols. It's a document that has a number of protocols in them. One of them is the energetic cleanse protocol. And another one is the peanut butter and jelly protocol, or what we call the PB&J protocol. And each one of these protocols is a series of 20 statements that have blank spaces in it. So you can for example, you can run the entire energetic cleanse protocol on a particular issue. So whatever issue you're facing at the moment, maybe give me an example, Jen. Maybe you're having a relationship issue with your ex-partner. What you can do is you can put your ex-partner's name in each of the blanks of the 20 SFT, the energetic cleanse tapping statements, and do each statement one at a time with your ex-partner's name in the blank. Tap 5 times continuously on the top of the head, once on the chest, and a fifth affirmation on the abdomen. That's how you use these protocols.
Okay, and if you want to feel something even stronger in that moment, put the name of your rapist in there. And you will finally be free of that mother effer. Okay, this is the thing that will free you because he has violated you and he's put his anger into you. So the SFT protocol can help you remove what that person has done to you.
Right. Another avenue is starting from, I think next week, when we run the show next week, we're going to start inviting people to come and join us in the studio for real life healing. So if that's something that you're interested in experiencing, a real life healing opportunity with Jen, myself, in a group setting on Genuine Healing, on News for the Soul, jump onto the Genuine Healing website, go to the on air page. So it's genuinhealing.com/on-air, and register to come onto one of our healing sessions. Go and do that. That's going to be a great avenue. So we're not doing listener call-ins in the traditional way because we pre-record these things. So if you do want to experience Jen's healing abilities on one of our upcoming episodes, jump onto the on-air page on the Genuine Healing website. There's that. And lastly, before we do wind down, I want to let people know about the enormous resource back catalogue of videos that are on two primary things. There's about 100 and so private healing sessions where the client has generously allowed us to record it and share it with the public. So there's a whole back catalogue of prior healing sessions with clients, real life healing sessions. So take a look at that. And then there's about 300 or thereabouts group SFT tapping events where we do healing at the broader collective level to promote universal empowerment and to deal with power mongers, dictators, assholes, billionaires that are basically destroying and disempowering the lives of 8 billion people on the planet. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it's really wonderful because doing those core issues for humanity has strengthened Marvin and myself to be able to do this energy work. As individuals, we're badasses, but together, it's like the world is is going in a better direction. Let's just say that. And what I would like is to hear from the people who felt my love on this, if had a experience with me inwardly, because we've had them. And I know you. And if you want me to consciously know you, just say hi. That's fine too.
The way you say hi is jump onto the Genuine Healing website again. There is a contact page. Come and say hi. Let us know a little bit about you, and let us know about what you would like to listen to on our weekly radio show, Genuine Healing, on News for the Soul. Jen, unfortunately, that's about all we've got time for today. Thank you to the listener. Thanks, Jen, for being here. Look forward to catching you all next time. Bye for now.
Bye for now.